us and make us benefit from what we learn and increase our knowledge. Inshallah, today will be the start of chapter 29, um, um, what's called like Juz' Tabarak. And they say Juz' Tabarak, they take the first letter of the ayah from Surah Al-Mulk. The surah's name is actually Al-Mulk. But usually people who learn the Quran by heart, they say جزء قد سمع. جزء قد سمع is the جزء 28. But the beginning of Surah Al-Mujadila, قد سمع الله قول التي تجادلك في زوجها. So the Huffaz, they say that جزء قد سمع, and جزء تبارك, and جزء عامة. جزء عامة is Surah Al-Naba, but they call it جزء عامة because it starts with عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم. So it is important that you know where the name came from. And Surah Al-Mulk is Surah 67 in the Quran. And they said, the Prophet ﷺ said that if you read Surah Al-Mulk before you go to sleep, Allah Azza wa Jal will protect you from the punishment in the grave. So this is one of the things which you could be protected from the punishment in the grave. It happened I listed these to my students last 3 weeks ago, I think, when we talked about the punishment in the grave and how you could avoid it. So the main topic here is be mindful of what Allah could do to you. The risk is too high. And Allah Azza wa Jal has already told us in Surah Al-Tahrim that you better obey Allah Azza wa Jal, because no matter who you are, um, you you cannot overstep the law. You cannot put yourself ahead of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You cannot reject the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam directly or indirectly or in a minor way. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Azza wa Jal told him that do not make haram for yourself what Allah made halal for you. And if you don't obey the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah will he will divorce you and Allah will replace him with better wives than you, and he listed their criteria. So here Allah is telling us who's the ownership belongs to, who's in charge. So you need to know who's in charge in this place, who's in charge in the town center, who's in charge in the hospital, who's in charge, because that's the person who will be saying the final word. People who try to step the prime minister get sacked. People who try to be smarter than the king quick chopped out. Prince Harry's been kicked out of the palace. We don't know what's for, but the queen had the last say, and she said, "That's it, off you go." So here Allah Azza wa Jal telling us He is in charge, and you better listen to Him. And Allah Azza wa Jal told us what He prepared for the unbelievers and the believers. He always reminds us, look, if you don't believe, that's where you end. Like it or not, it's exclusive club. You can only get to paradise by selection, but anyone can go to hell. It's not actually a problem going to hell, but it is a problem going to paradise. It's easy. Just say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, and it's one place. Yeah, you can sit here. Sit here. So Allah is aware of all our secrets, and that's always a reminder from Allah. Can't hide from Allah. And the easiest way, always, I was listening to a new speaker talking about the meaning of Surah Al-Mulk, and because we will come, أَمِنْتُم مَّن فِي السَّمَاءِ فَأَمِنْتُم مَّن فِي السَّمَاءِ. Doesn't mean that Allah located in the sama, far away from you. He's back up in heaven. He can't see you, can't know what you're doing. Allah have been here before He created here, and He is still here. And don't think of Allah of a body. He goes from A to B to C. He's traveling. You know, where he's going now to Scotland? No. So Allah is here all the time, created what He created, and He's aware of all of it, what's happening. They ask Ali ibn Abi Talib how Allah will judge everybody at the same time. He said, as he gave them sustenance at the same time. All of us getting sustenance at the same time. All the animals, all the plants, all the ants, all the insects at the same time getting its sustenance, its water and its oxygen, um, hydrogen, whatever you need. You are getting it from Allah Azza wa Jal. So the punishment he's saying from verse 16 to 18 could come from above you, could come from underneath you. So be careful. You don't know how you will be caught. So we don't know whether this virus came from above us, underneath us, from within us. They went to and spent a long time in Wuhan and couldn't come with a final answer that that's it. This is where the virus. And more likely to be, but it came everywhere. People never been to China, no Chinese coming to them. I remember the start of the virus. The first hit was the Chinese town in Birmingham. Nobody went there at all. Doesn't matter. Wherever you are in the middle of Scotland or middle of Wales or middle of Congo, the virus has reached them, subhanallah. And today they're saying um, Pakistanis and Bangladeshi are the most to be hit by the virus. I don't know. Uh, you probably need to say you're not Pakistani anymore. Cheat the virus. So Allah is saying, verse 19 to 24, example of our weakness. And in verse, it's 30 ayah in Surah Al-Mulk. Verse 25 to 27, for those who deny, for those who deny the coming of Allah's promises, what will happen? And in ayah 28 and 30 is the beautiful three ayahs telling us the risk is high, it's actually 50-50. And that reminds you of the Pascal triangle when either you get this or this or this or this. In Islam, Allah is saying the Prophet ﷺ, either he's perish, disappear, or he goes to paradise, or and the believers either perish or go to paradise. The unbeliever either perish or go to hell. So that the risk is too high and the stake is really too high. And then Allah mentioned the beginning about the atmosphere. So when you go to if we go to the ayah as a quick screen to the ayah, so Allah starts with تبارك الذي بيده الملك, talk about himself, الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Keep talking about what he created, خلق سبع سماوات, and check that it's perfect creation, and then that he decorated the earth with زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير. So he talk about what will happen to the kafirin in hellfire and how they will be questioned by the angels. Why, you never heard of hell? Nobody told you? No, we have been told, but we denied that was the truth. And then they blame themselves. If we were really listening, or if we were really thinking, we wouldn't be here. So they acknowledge their فاعترفوا بذنبهم, acknowledge their sin. So let be their destinations there. And then Allah talk about those who fear Allah Azza wa Jal, whether in the hidden or in the seen. So they will be looking into themselves. So I'm just trying to. So here Allah Azza wa Jal acknowledging that you can't hide from Allah Azza wa Jal, whether you say things in your mind or whether you say it to people. Allah will know all what's going on in your mind, and He knows what He created. ألا يعلم من خلق ما خلق. The one who created didn't know what. So if you go to, gave example previously, if you go to a plumber who fitted all the plumbing in your house, then they will tell you where things are and avoid this pipe, avoid this. The same, the electricians, name the builder, And then Allah Azza wa Jal told us, just enjoy yourself in life on earth and be careful, because to Him you will go back. And then the main warning came that Allah is the creator, He could do this or this, that He could send destruction from above you, or He could destroy destruction from under you. Um, so he أمنتم من في السماء قد يخسف بكم الأرض, could make the earth collapse underneath you, or He could send destruction from above, whether tornado, whether it's flood, whether it's plague, whatever it is. And people before you have been suffering from these sort of things. And then Allah Azza wa Jal tell us about, again, His creation. He spoke about our birds here, and saying that you're really very weak. You wouldn't have a support from anywhere if you disobey Allah Azza wa Jal. And if we stop giving you the sustenance, where will you get it? Um, so, and it's not the same, the one who walks with his face down, he can't see his own way, and the one who is walking and he's aware of where he's going. And He is the one who created you from earth, and to Him you return. And then Allah challenged those who doubt the coming of next life by asking you when it's going to be. Like if I say to you, we will like go on a holiday to like Morocco or something. The next question would be when. When? I don't know. I'm not sure. When do you know? Come and tell us. So this is the way the Kafirin used to use with the prophets. When is it? Then I don't know. But it's coming. The sign that it's coming, that you're going to die. If there's no day of judgment, then you wouldn't die. This is why the beginning of this surah, Allah is the one who created the life and death. So it's a creation from Allah. Living and dying is a creation, because He could make the brain never age. He could make the cell never age. He could make you never die. Nuh lived 950 years plus. So did Adam. So did Sulaiman and Dawood lived 300 something years, 350 years. And then he finished the surah by the warning. Be careful, because it is risky for you. If you, let me just get this up for the online. But when you see the day of judgment, it will be a disastrous day for you. And here the warning, the risk, the 50-50 risk, which is really beautiful, because you can take it, and when you go to the tafsir, the challenge at that time, they want Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to die. Just finish from him, let him die and finish. And that's the end of his message. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in one way, the Mufassirin saying, if he dies now or he lives long time, what will happen to you when you die? But on another tafsir, they say that if he dies and perish, أهلكني هلك in imru'un halaka wa laysa lahu walad. Halaka means that he vanished. There's no children, nobody to inherit him. Went. Who will inherit him? Then Allah said his sisters, and then He said if he has one sister or two sisters. So halak is just you vanished, disappeared. كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه. Everything will gone, vanish, disappear, except the face of Allah, which means He's Allah Azza wa Jal. He's that. So the other meaning is, will come later, that it is a challenge, that the challenge is either I'm saved and go to paradise, or I vanish, nothing, because the kafirin, the mulhideen, the atheists will say there's no life after death. You vanish. The minute you die, you die. There's no life after death. Yeah? But if there is, then you are caught. So 50-50, either you perish, Muhammad perish, or go to paradise, and the kafirin, either they perish or go to hell. And I always say this example: if there's a chance, somebody said after 15 minutes this place will explode, we all dead, so you better go outside. So if we all go outside and it doesn't explode, we didn't lose much. We'll come back. But if we decide no, we will stay and explode, that's a big loss. So you better safe than sorry in a way. So he ended the surah with this, and the challenge: what if Allah take water from you? And where will you get the water? Even the distilled water, when they take the sea water and distill it and try to make it drinkable water, they need to add stuff to it because it becomes very pure, and you need a lot of elements in the water itself. So if you go back to the way we were looking into the unique in the surah, تبارك الذي بيده الملك only came in Surah Al-Mulk. خلق الموت والحياة. Again, Allah created death. He, he says in the other parts of the Quran that yes, he made, everybody, كل نفس ذائقة الموت. But here, it's the death is a creation. It's something which is, it's like sometimes we get to think that when they sell you a washing machine or a computer, or they instruct the machine to break down after 5 years, so you come back and buy another one. So imagine within the instruction to back off after 5 years or 10 years. Um, we think so. I mean, we don't know, obviously. There's a lot of hidden things, secret in companies. But we used to repair like washing machine, dishwasher, and now you can't even open the things. They put it in a sealed box. You can't get to the to the motor to repair it because they want you to go back and buy a new one. So, but here Allah said within your component that you will die. Um, I was listening to somebody making research on the gene which switch off your cells and make you die, and if you can switch it on, you could live forever. But then he said, in the same breath, he said the genetic components only ate 20% of the cause of death. The 80% is your healthy diet, your health, your circumstances, your job, your environmental risks, nature disaster, and things. So if the 20% you can't even control part of it, how are you going to control earthquakes and tornadoes and so الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا خلق سبع سماوات طباقا in the Quran لتركبن طبقا عن طبق is mentioned. So here make the طباقا here, we will come to the tafsir, probably different than the seven heavens up in heaven beyond our earth heaven. So you have the earth and the earth heaven, all these galaxies, and then you have the first heaven, and then second and third, the seven heavens, and then you have the Jannah, and then you have the kursi and the throne. While here, when Allah mentioned tibaqa layers, probably He meant the earth heaven. Like we went through last surah, that خلق سبع سماوات ومن الأرض مثلهن, that some people thought it is the layers in the earth, and some people thought that it could be seven true earth like this scattered in the first heaven among all these. فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور. Again, it's only this challenge in Surah Al-Mulk. ينقلب إليك البصر. There's a lot of ayahs actually only in the Mulk. جعلناها رجوما للشياطين. It's in Surah Al-Rahman, and الشياطين أتبعه شهاب صاعق. When the jinn try to get closer to the first heaven, they get hit by a shihab. And then here, the Jahannam have shahiq and zafir, inhalation and exhalation. And it's mentioned in the Quran as well, in other surah. تكاد تميز من الغيظ, only here in the Quran, that hellfire become very angry and about to rip itself because of the anger receiving these awful people. I mean, this is why when people go to prison, they say prison officers are actually harsh and too tough. They're meant to be. They're not getting nice people. Most of them get criminals who don't mind hitting and slashing. When they made in New York, they made zero tolerance for minor crimes. You know what happened after that? Anybody heard? They said they have zero tolerance. What happened? Which turned down rapidly? What went down rapidly? The biggest crime. The major crime went down rapidly. Why? Because most of those big criminals, they don't care about throwing rubbish on the floor, on the street, or parking in WR line. They're killing people. so, so when they go to prison, these people don't mind hitting. When I used to go and assess disturb people in the police stations, for them, they're not losing much. If they hit me and kill me, so what? They're going to prison anyway. But if I get dead, I'm lost for my family. It's too much for me. This is why our staff, they look into their own back first, protect their back first, and then look into what they need to do. Because for him, it's not much loss. It's like I want to see somebody, and they want to kill himself. And I looked into the story with the social worker and the GP and things, and then the decision comes. Shall I admit the patient or not? For me, if I don't admit the patient and he goes and kill himself, you will be a never-ending story. Investigations and the coroners and the court and things. But if I admit him, my boss will say, "Oh, we don't have beds and things," and you admitted, unnecessary admission. Next day, we'll forget it. So I said about one patient, I'll admit, on section of the Mental Health Act, the social worker thought for them it's a never-ending story, especially with Section 3. They end on funding the person till he dies. So for him, will be nagging on his head from his managers not to admit. So he said, I will stay with the patient till the morning. I went home. It's fine. But it is for the patient. He didn't care. He had so much things in his life and things and killing me. And one day, me and the GP and the social worker were terrified of one criminal. So big and so muscles. And they wouldn't open the door. Door opens from outside. And if you go to the magistrate court, the door opens from outside, and many of the police stations. So I used to say, no, the policeman stay with us. Because I was caught once, our life, we kept banging on the door, and the guys were busy doing something else. Um, so this is in Surah كلما ألقي فيها فوج on Surah Tabarak. وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل, if we were hearing or understanding. It's similar in the rest of the Quran. الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كريم وأسروا قولكم also came in other part of the Quran أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير also come in other part of the Quran. No, just we went to Tahrim. Yeah. إن وهو اللطيف الخبير came in like in Surah Luqman. يا بني إنها إن تكن مثقال حبة من خردل فتكن في السماوات أو في الأرض يأتي بها الله إن الله لطيف خبير. Latif means he will see the minute things, the subatom particles. Allah is aware of it all the time. This is why when they discovered the Higgs boson, they say this is part of God, because it is the things which keep the subatomic particles together. So they thought, oh, this is, you are saying Allah in control of everything, so we discovered the parts of God. Oh, see, that's haram. You say that. Allah, yes, controlling everything, but he is not part of an atom. So, وَأَسِرُّ قَوْلَكَ لَطِيفٌ خَبِيرٌ came in other parts of the Quran, and that's why Latif, and he has experience. Latif, he sees everything, but he knows the meaning of it. It's like my granddaughter. She sees things, but she doesn't know the meaning of it. You have to tell her and teach her again and again and again. And فَامْشُوا فِي مَنَاكِبِهَا also in Surah Al-Mulk. manakib. You have mankab here and mankab here. You go between here and here, manakib. And manakib means mountains as well, or they say it's the part of earth. فرجوا في مناكبها وإليه النشور. Nushur came in another part of the Quran. And if I try to finish the surah in one session, probably we'll start straight away the meaning of the verses then. So we go back to the surah as it is in the Quran. تبارك الذي. تبارك is a verb, is no past or present. Baraka yabruku. Baraka, Allah Azza wa Jal. Tabaraka is a verb that he is placed. And the one who within his grasp, in his hand, the ownership. Everything owned by Allah Azza wa Jal. And in his hand. تبارك الذي بيده الملك. Obviously, we are giving metaphoric meaning now. It doesn't mean that Allah has a hand. We can't say he has a hand like our hand, and you can't say he has a hand not like our hand. But the hand has a lot of meaning, the power, the ability, the grasp, the control, the hand of the government, the hand of the police. Anybody seen the hand of the police? No? So the effect of the hand of the police. وهو على كل شيء قدير. He is able to do all things. He's not limited. Like when we were children, can Allah Azza wa Jal create a rock, a big rock which he cannot carry? The question itself, you don't need to answer it. Just go outside the earth and see who is carrying the earth, who's carrying the sun, who's carrying the universe. Allah Azza wa Jal. This is why they talk about the dark matter and the dark energy, because they found that galaxies are not connected in space, fixed in space because of gravity. So they're saying there must be some dark matter in between and dark energy holding it. No, Allah Azza wa Jal is holding it. Allah Azza wa Jal said, Allah yumsiku samawati wal arda an tazula. Allah is holding the heavens and earth from going far away or going within itself, dissolve. If you take like what they talk about boson, Higgs boson, if you take it away, the whole matter will be gone. There's no subatomic matter, there's no matter, there's no neutron and proton, and everything will vanish, disappear. Nothing keep it to appear as a matter. So بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. Reminding who? The wives of the Prophet ﷺ. He's in charge. He say the rule. You can't make things haram to please your wives, and don't push him to that. So Allah made it halal for him. It remains halal for him. الذي خلق الموت والحياة. خلق الموت والحياة. So it's created. Death is created and could be abolished. Allah Azza wa Jal made the people of the cave survive for 309 years. ولبثوا في كهفهم 300 سنين وازدادوا 9. So probably 300 years, solar years, 309 lunar years. But they also were fitya. They were 16, 17 years old. Add to the 300, and then add the time they stayed alive before they died. So they lived nearly 320 years. But also, Prophet lived a long time. فلبث في قومه 1000 سنة إلا 50 عاما. نوح 950 years. ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. It's actually a test. Some people finish GCSE and get kicked out of schools. Some finish the A level. Some finish university, never find a job. Some finish university, get degrees and specialty, and can't find a job, or they sacked, or they find business and run a business. So, and their life ends here. So you have the test and then pass or fail. So some might finish the test in their 20 or 30. Allah had enough information about you. They don't need to live any longer. Take you. وَيَتَّخِذُ مِنْهُمْ شُهَدَاء. Allah Azza wa Jalla will take people who are Muslims as witnesses. And that's it. من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عهد الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه ومنهم من ينتظر. Among the believers who were truthful with what Allah Azza wa Jal, they promised Allah Azza wa Jal to do, and some of them has completed the job, finished. قضى نحبه. He finished, completed the job, showed Allah Azza wa Jal that he's as Allah expected him, and he passed away. And some is waiting to finish the job. I have a friend who was with us, medical school, and he finished medical school. By the time he finished medical school, he formed the medical association, and he was Imam in one of the top mosques in Damascus, and he was doing halaqah, and he was inviting people to Islam, and he was doing this, doing this. He was like acting like 20, 30 of us. And then he went to do his postgraduate studies in Germany, and then he died there, car crash with his wife. And but we looked into his life. He's done what we are still not achieved yet. So for him, قضى نحبه, and he hit like let's say home run. Anybody know home run? You know home run? Yeah, yeah. I play with my wife home run sometimes. Who can't eat the food person? No, just وهو العزيز الغفور. Although he doesn't need us, he's in charge. We all need him. He's not can't reach him, and he's one of his kind, but he's forgiver. غفور. He will forgive you. You need to go back to him. You need to go back. الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا. And that's what there's a lot of different meaning about what Allah meant by seven heavens, layers on top of each other. And this is why when you go to people who study the geology and the earth science and things, they will think of seven layers like this in the atmosphere. And subhanAllah, this is more fitting than they thought seven planets around the sun. But then they discovered planet 8 and planet 9, so their description became very unacceptable. But the seven layers, because the ayah in Surah Al-Tariq, لتركبن طبقا فلا أقسم بالشفق والليل إذا وسق والقمر إذا اتسق لتركبن طبقا عن طبق. It's not Surah Al-Tariq, it's Surah Al-Takwir. Yeah. لتركبن طبقا عن طبق. So, you can find it if you can't remember it. انشقاق. لتركبن طبقا عن طبق means you will ride a layer above layer. That became more acceptable to the scholars when the man started flying using balloons or using planes and then rockets. So if because there is some say the layers, these layers divided, and some divided into different layers. Like you put the exosphere as a layer, number 7, which we traveled to, outer space. So we traveled all these layers and went up. So there's 7 layers, which is classified by man. If they put the earth as first layer, then they will have the last layer is here. If you put the first layer is above the earth, then the exosphere will be the layer number 7, ionosphere. And we traveled from layer to layer to layer. So when you go with the plane, they go above 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet, and obviously temperature drops and oxygen drops. And my friend said if they don't heat the wings, the ice on the wing will be so heavy that they will drop the plane. So they always heat the wings to stop it accumulating ice and things. So لتركبن طبقا طبق. And here Allah Azza wa Jalla saying that الذي خلق سبع سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن في التفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور. There is no variation, there is no defect, and Allah expects us to look at it and study it. We can't reach the 7 heavens above the universe, but we can't reach the 7 heavens of layers air, and we can study it. This is how they discovered the holes in the zone, what's it called it, ozone layers. The ozone layer, they started having hole in it because of the CFC gases, and they stopped because of cows as well, because there's many things. But it's the rest of the ayah showing that yes, we can study it, and we'll find out that there is no defects, and it's all done beautifully and created beautifully, and has certain temperature, it has certain density, it has certain criteria, and it doesn't change. There's no layer go inside another layer. Because this is the two ayahs, ثم ارجع البصر كرتين, twice, three times. Now, the research, they say he discovered whatever, but it hasn't been duplicated yet. The research has to be duplicated, triplicated, reviewed, and then they come and say, yes, it's really the same fact we discovered again and again and again. So here Allah expecting you to look, look back again, look a third time, ثم ارجع البصر كرتين, become like four times. فارجع البصر, so you have the first basar, فارجع البصر, the second one, then ثم ارجع البصر كرتين, four times. So Allah expects you to do the research first, second, third, fourth time. ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير, will come back to you without any um, proof that there is defect in what Allah created. And subhanallah, I mean, when you go, I don't know whether you notice or not, when you go to the plane, you find sometime you are in between cloud on the top of you, cloud on the bottom of you, but moving different directions. And some cloud going that way and some cloud going that way. So you have, and when they tell us about um, the weather report, they tell us there is the wind from the top is actually carrying the things to us, overriding the wind which was closer to us, and they bring with it sometime the disasters and the tornadoes and things. Um, and then Allah Azza wa said, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحَ وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ. Here Allah Azza wa saying, decorated the heavenly earth, the earth heaven, with lamps. So Allah looked into all these stars as lamps decorating. Or probably our galaxy, we don't know. This is one of the mutashabih. There's so many different meaning to it. And it's not, because the scholars say that it's lights decorate the heaven, and also وَبِالنَّجْمِ هُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ, they find their way around, and then to hit the shayateen. They can't go beyond certain limits or whatever. But only Allah knows what He meant. زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. Because the creation of Allah Azza wa Jal, if all these 200 billion galaxies, every galaxy have 200 billion stars, the only decoration. So what Allah Azza wa Jal created beyond that? How beautiful are the seven heavens? How beautiful is the kursi? How beautiful is the throne? What they contain? What Allah created in these heavens? The seven heavens, and the seven heavens above our earth heaven. وأعتدناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير. Shayateen will have also the kafir of the shayateen. Shayateen come only when Allah means kafirin. They are unbelievers, the followers of Iblis. Because Ifrit could be a jinni, a believing jinni, but he's very clever. So you have jinni, and you have Ifrit jinni, which is very clever jinni, and you have shayateen who are unbelievers, and their head is Iblis. So here is more kafirin because they are going to hellfire. For them, they know they're going to hellfire, so they're trying to make as much disruption as possible. It's like, remember the guy Allah told us, the Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith, that is the man who killed 99 people, and he went to somebody worshiper. He said, no way, you're going to hell. He said, okay, I'm going to hell and make you 100. So for him, 99, we are 100. For Iblis, he's going to hell, he's going to hell. So he doesn't mind taking with him so many. This is what I was talking about earlier. That some people are so evil, they know they are going to go to prison. They know they are going to be convicted. They don't mind abusing you, shouting at you, swearing at you, or hitting you. I mean, this patient, many times they jumped on me to hit me because I didn't admit them to hospital. It means if I go to see the patient in the police station and I say he's not mentally disturbed, it means that he will have to stay in the police custody. And he wants to be taken to court the next day. So when I decide that there's no mental illness, they get angry with me. So before I say to the patient that you have no mental illness, I usually ask the police to stand behind them. And many times the patient tried to jump to, well, there you say him not. The police put his hands on his shoulders, sit down. And so, so this is shayateen. They're going to hell anyway, so they don't mind destroying us with the way. They will stop in our way to the mosque, our way to do the right things, our way to behave with the family and things. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, they have similar destination. The punishment of hellfire, and that's the worst destination. And when they are thrown in it, it's like hellfire is a living creature. It has zafir and shahir, inhalation and exhalation. It's like when you go to like active volcano, the bubbles will have, and the voice and sound is so mighty, and that's frightening. Villages near erupting volcano. If you go to sometime when you go to a very hot baker shop, I've been to baker shops. My uncle used to have a bakery shop, and the fire is too hot. You hear sound to it, frightening sound. Hellfire is obviously millions and millions greater than that. They will hear it's breathing in and out, just inhaling them. سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور, boiling and erupting, and تكاد تميز من الغيظ, because it's so moving that you think it's going to rip itself apart. Like, كلما ألقي فيها فوج, every time a group is thrown into hellfire, because they will be thrown يوم يدعون إلى نار جهنم دعا. The entrance is so narrow, and they will be pushed with, like, with the angels, or pushed with their, يدعون إلى نار جهنم دعا, and the angels, subhanallah, the angels guarding hellfire, but they're not burning, because Allah is the creator. Allah decides who gets burned with what. Ibrahim al-Khalil alayhi salatu wasalam, he stayed in the hell, in the fire, massive fire, for a whole week, and he came out, nothing burned from him. He just, even his clothing were okay. Nobody said he came out naked. He was fully dressed and came out intact. So they will ask them, سألهم خزنتها, the prison guards there, the hell guard, did you not have a warner, somebody tell you that you might end here? And they will say, yes, they can't deny it. Yes, we had. So Nadir, the scholar have a lot of meaning to it. Nadir could be a messenger, could be a prophet. Nadir could be the Quran. Nadir could be your brain, because Allah Azza wa Jal is known through thinking. And you don't become Muslim just because you read the Quran. You believe the Creator there. When you read the Quran, you know it is from that Creator. So the mind, the brain is actually, isn't it warning you? When you touch something hot, next time you don't. Because your brain said you land, that's hot. Don't go through that way. There's nasty people there. Don't drive in this road because it's bumpy and things. So your brain keep telling you, and you get to understand. And Nadir, Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We'll not punish until we send a messenger. It could be a book. Now internet telling everybody everywhere. And very few people, I mean, unfortunately, my nephew now is in hospital with corona, and he can't breathe properly. I was asking his brother, was he not wearing mask? He said if he have to, he will wear the mask. But if he is with his employees and things, and many of them, and workers and the farmers, they don't care about the mask. So he picked it up. The same, my brother in Cairo picked it up. I was looking today into the Salah in Cairo. A lot of people no mask at all. If there's mask and the nose is showing, so they're breathing out the virus and breathing in the other people's virus. The and sometimes, big sheikh and things, big all military people were. I think all of them were. So there's a military order to put the face mask. That's a military order. نفذ ثم اعترض. Execute the order and then complain later. قالوا جاءنا نذير. So نذير here, a lot of scholars give it a lot of different meaning. And فكذبنا. We denied it. And we said, no, Allah did not send anything. If you are just nothing but um, in delusion, great delusion, great loss. إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير. You just mentally ill. You are ignorant. You are this. You are that. So, but then they commented on that. Yes, we were hearing, but if we were really truly hearing, because you hear, the cat will hear, the dog will hear, everybody will hear, most creatures hear, but they don't know they're hearing. But we were hearing, we not understand what we're hearing, or we had no brain to understand. We were hearing, and sometimes they refuse to hear, they walk. And many times when I start talking to people, about Islam, they just walk, especially if it's in the high street or somewhere that they don't care about you. If your colleagues say, oh, I've got an appointment, I'm meeting somebody. He's not meeting somebody, he doesn't want to talk, just go. كنا نسمع أو نعقل. If we had a brain, we wouldn't be the companions of the blazing fire. And now they acknowledge their sin. Now, فَالسُّحْقًا لِأَصْحَابِ السَّعِيرِ. So let them be there in hellfire. They are the companions of the hellfire. On the other hand, those who are afraid of Allah Azza wa Jal, mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal, بالغيب. Either they're mindful of Allah although they don't see Him, or they're mindful of Allah Azza wa Jal when nobody else is seeing them. So they are alone in the house. I truly, personally, enjoy more the prayer if I'm praying alone in the house sometimes. Because you are only you and Allah Azza wa Jal. You're not praying for anybody, for Allah Azza wa Jal. And then it's like when we came to Britain. I mean, many people wouldn't send their children to me. I mean, I went and saw 3 girls before I married my wife. One of them was too young. The other one, her father said, oh, she is a closed Mus'haf. She is a closed Quran. He doesn't want her to go to Britain. He said, finish your postgraduate study and come back. She will be waiting for you. And the third one is my wife. And we came here, alhamdulillah. When my children go around here, when they go to Syria, they invite them to follow Islam. Yeah? And they, come with us to the mosque. And what mosque? Have you heard there's something called mosque? You pray there. So for that guy who must have Mutwi, his daughter eventually married to somebody in America. So he rejected Britain, went to America. Subhanallah. So يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة. They will have forgiveness and great reward. And whether you say what you think or you keep it hide, Allah is aware of all what the chests are hiding. And then the ayah, we went through it in a minute, in the beginning. ألا يعلم من خلق. That it has also multiple meaning as well. ألا يعلم من خلق. Doesn't he know who he created? Or it could be ألا يعلم من خلق. What he created. Didn't the one who created know what he created? So you have, multiple meaning in the ayah. He's aware of it, and he is Latif. No matter how small it is, he is Latif, aware of it, and he is full of knowledge about what he created. I mean, when I was listening to Sheikh Nabilsi, he brought the mosquitoes as example. How he put in the mosquitoes so many abilities that the wing fly the hundreds of times or so in a second. So fine, but it's very fast, and how it comes to the person without listening to it when it comes. When she flies, she makes a sound. By the time you hear the sound, beyond your reach. But then she injects you with anesthetic from your department, and they calculate. I said, to Talha, he goes to LSE, that mosquitoes have all these abilities. She can compute how much she quiet she should be, how long she stay on your skin, and she injects you with anesthetic, and then she absorbs the the blood and analyze it. If it's the blood that she wants, she will carry on sucking the blood. If it's not, they've got somebody. Probably they choose between A, B, and A, B, whatever, or O minus. I don't know, but they have this ability, and then they know how much to inject. By the time you feel the punch, she computed how long, how far she will be. So she has all this information to not to be reached. Get what she wants, go, not to be reached, and carry enough blood that she can carry it because she carry more than its weight. So, ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير هو الذي جعل لكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها. He made the earth habitable. Anybody seen this NASA picture? That's water on Mars. You seen it? Water on Mars. Anybody didn't see it? They produced the first picture, water on Mars. And what they've done, it's NASA actually did it. This is why I forwarded it, because it's NASA published it. They put a Mars bar and they put water on it. And they took a picture to it. At the beginning, I thought it was a genuine picture, but it came from NASA. Um, and I'd be surprised if they find livable or they can live there. Because Allah said, um, منها خلقناكم وفيها نعيدكم ومنها نخرجكم تارة أخرى, that we will all die on earth. The ayah, from earth we are created, to earth we will go back when we die, and from earth we will be recreated. So I always think, has anybody died in the outer space and they disposed the body in the outer space? We never heard of any. Because they've discovered if they stay more than 6 months, their blood pressure will go and their salt balance will be all over the place, and they have to bring them back. They can't stay more than 6 months. So if they go to live in Mars, they have to come back to Earth, stay 2 years here. And so, وَكُلُوا مِنْ رِزْقِهِ فَامْشُوا فِي مَنَاكِبِهَا. We said مَنَاكِبِهَا between its areas, valleys and mountains, and manakib, like, we are told this shoulder called mankab in Arabic. A lot on his shoulder, يحمل على منكبيه, يعني carry a lot on his shoulder. مناكب. وكلوا من رزقه, and eat from what he gave you, the sustenance he gave you, and to him you will go back. And then the main threat came from Allah in this ayah. So he's telling us about all this, and then mindful, are you secured that the one in heaven? And here when you listen to the scholars, it doesn't mean the one in heaven above you or under you. Because if you say Allah is above you, then he's under you in Australia. So you don't locate Allah in a space, but Allah locate himself higher to show that you're making Allah greater than anything else. So أَمِنْتُم مَّن فِي السَّمَاءِ. And subhanAllah, our scholars gave these examples about where is Allah from the time of Aqidah al-Ash'ariyah and Maturidiyah, 1,000 years ago, 1,100 years ago. But when we discovered the earth is round, and above here is down there, because they say down under in Australia. So Allah down under, He can't say that, and He's above Australia. So subhanAllah, our scholars told us from ages ago, don't locate Allah in a place or a time. Because if you place Allah in a time, you will have difficulty how Allah knows the future. Because Allah is already in the future. So don't place Him. He's only now. He doesn't exist in the future. He's only now. He doesn't exist in the past. No, He's in the past, present, and future at the same time. So this is when Einstein came with the relativity theory and general relativity theory, people started accepting relativity. Time is related to your speed, and time, the mass, is related to how fast the mass is walking and things, and traveling. This is why they said you can't go above the speed of light, because you will need infinite mass. You will create infinite mass, but also you need infinite power. Because if you take if this is a bullet and I throw it on you, it might scratch you. But if I give it high speed in a gun, it will kill. It's the same bullet. The speed made it a killer object. أم أمنتم من السماء يخسف بكم الأرض, that Allah collapses the earth under you. Many earthquakes actually buried people underneath. So many people. Um, People buried inside mines as well, trying to get the coal out or the gold or something. وَهِيَ تَمُورُ. We never knew that the earth is actually sitting on liquid. While here, it's in the Quran that the earth is, could be wobbly and collapse under you. Um, أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا. Um, Showers of stone. There were a lot of videos came with hailstones very big. They're destroying cars. They're hitting cars and destroying, killed a lot of animals. We saw, a lot of sheep killed by big hailstones and things. وَلَقَدْ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَكِيرٌ. Here, when you get this hailstone, فَسَتَعْلَمُونَ كَيْفَ نَذِيرٌ. How you will be getting the real warning. That he's like I see the coronavirus is a real warning from Allah Azza wa Jal. No one can do this pandemic. I mean, one of the things I never thought that will be destroyed is the cat show. They couldn't do cat show. They're doing virtual cat shows. It's not the same like producing those, selling their designs by getting these young girls and very slim and you know they're exposing their body just to sell their goods. And Allah abolished that. There's no catch on it. There's a call for the government to help them. Now, Elton Jones came out and said, oh, nobody is singing in any pubs or clubs and things. They're not making money. This singer, never thought singer would be losing money. And there's so many industries lost. The furlough is covering up a lot. There's a lot of zombie companies now in America and in Europe. By the time the furlough stops, this is why Biden wanted 1.9 revival input injection. They call it helicopter money because they give it to everybody who make less than $100,000. When that disappears, all these zombie companies will sack their employees because they're keeping them because they're not paying them, the government paying them. Just in case we start business again. But if there's no business, like in the hospitality business, the travel and the hotels and nightclubs, and who's going to go to nightclubs and come back with corona? Who's going to go and watch the football game? How can't watch it on widescreen television? I mean, sometimes you see better pictures watching television, football game, than being in the stadium. You see little people there, the very bottom and running, you don't know who's who. Why show you on the screen? you know. So وَلَقَدْ كَذَّبَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ فَكَيْفَ كَانَ نَكِيرٌ. So they denied Allah's existence, denied Allah in charge. So what was their destination? What was their punishment? How they ended? And then Allah brought another example. أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا إِلَى الطَّيْرِ فَوْقَهُمْ صَافَّاتٍ وَيَقْبِضْنَ مَا يَمْسِكُهُنَّ لِلرَّحْمَنِ إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ بَصِيرٌ. Now, one of the things, I don't think we can finish the surah today. One of the things about the birds, I mean, we have a video, there's no traffic lights, and there's a crossroad, and you're waiting for accident to happen, and they do happen. I mean, I went to Egypt once, and there were no traffic lights. I said to the taxi driver, where is the traffic light? He said, oh, the revolution, when it took place, they stole the traffic light. Because some Egyptian hated the revolution, because the Muslimin became in charge. And look at this lie, big lie. But when we went to an area, half an hour, 1 hour, and still jammed because all of them driving the same time, and they all blocked each other. So we said, how much do we need to pay? We paid them and we walked. While the birds, I'm sure you will all see the birds make a display before they immigrate, and they never hit each other. They go like, a beautiful move, and it's like millions of them. And the same with the locusts, and same with all animals. They be running like the big ox and things, and they don't hit each other. They don't jam the road. They just flow. The fish the same, and they started thinking of something called quantum biology. In quantum biology, you have a certain ability to actually plan and execute the plan in fast speed without making mistakes. When a quantum computer works, the first will disappear is your bank account, because they will, in less than fraction of a second, they will know your password. They will move all your money, all your money out of your bank. But then they will, all this cryptocurrency will disappear. Is the guy who was caught in Germany? He made a lot of stealing to coins, to bitcoins through a system. He worked and was illegal, and he had 1,700 Bitcoin, but he wouldn't give them a password. And if he give them the password, there will be time, 50,000 pounds each Bitcoin. And so if his quantum computer will figure out straight away the password in less than a second, and they will take the money. Is a guy who have also a lot of Bitcoins, and he wrote the password on a paper and he lost it. And he had 10 guesses, like your iPhone, when you try 10 times. I mean, Leanne was about to erase all my mobile. She tried my granddaughter, she's 1.5 years old, tried to open my mobile several seconds, straight away take it from her before it's erased. I didn't actually install the erase after 10. It's nothing to lose important. So, so the birds, when they move around, is definitely this part, because this is how they are thinking of quantum biology. They look into movement of birds, movement of the fish in the sea, movement of herds in the jungle, and Allah brought it to us. He is in charge. He is leading them, and He's moving them. So it's difficult if it's quantum biology, then it's definitely in the hand of Allah Azza wa Jal, moving everything in very fast speed. It doesn't need to wait time, to move the planets and to move the human on the planets or to move the animals on the planets. He only gave man some control. Because sometimes you want to go somewhere and going somewhere else. Oh, why I came here? And you find that, yeah, you actually needed to help in this place. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. May Allah make our meeting blessed and protect us after leaving here. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.